Okay, gonna try this one more time. Took a few deep breaths before hitting the stream button to lower my blood pressure, and left a very angry message with my ISP because they clock out and become useless at 6:30 p.m. apparently. And also, I'd forgotten that for many of the folks in my country, today is a national holiday, so I'm sure that doesn't help. And who knows, maybe that's part of why they feel justified in ruining our lives. So, suffice to say, I'm so sorry. I don't have another great, hilarious joke loaded up like last time we got back. I figure... Oh, and there's buffering that's killing you. I'm sorry, Grail. It looks like it's... Oh. Actually, no. Yeah, it looks like it's saying there are a lot of dropped frames, too. So that number seems to be going down. Hopefully that will also be fixed. Yeah, so... I'm hoping this will be a random one-off issue because I can't really remember it having happened before, but I figure so I'm going to give it one more try because I don't think it will be a good way to start off a new adventure we've been looking forward to so much if we just have to troubleshoot every 15 to 20 minutes for the evening. So I'm going to give it one more good old-fashioned college try in the spirit of Jude Mathis, the perennial student, and if it ends up not working well, we can just call it and punt to Wednesday, and hopefully things will have been resolved by then. But send good vibes, and hopefully it's stable, and we won't have to deal with that. The really funny thing, Pottery, is that the weather has been absolutely perfect today. It was like a summer day, not a cloud in the sky, 60 degrees, sunny. So, no, they have no excuse. Hi, Pink Moon Echo. Oh, it's so nice to see you back, my friend. It's been a while. Well, you've come on the happy occasion of us starting the next of our live book club literary studies in Tales of Xillia, but the kind of frustrating occasion that after months and months of doing this with basically no incidents, my internet has been incredibly unstable tonight. So... it's not clear whether we'll be able to get a stable connection to keep going, but it's great to see you back, and our plan is to do 4-hour blocks starting at 7 p.m. Eastern every Monday, Wednesday, Friday going forward. So that's the plan. This has been like my second reset attempt of the night just to get the internet working. So I was saying if it ends up going down again, I'm just going to punt and we'll start the proper launch on Wednesday. Because this is no fun and no way to start such a long and much anticipated adventure together. But hopefully it will be stable and good, and we'll just go from there. So I trust that the gang will let me know if we run into any other issues, but we won't have to talk about it because it's not going to happen, is it? All right, so we're heading back the way we came for a scene, I think. People give mana to the spirits, and spirits use it to create the natural world in which people live, forming what we know as the cycle of life. Alright, I think I finally have it memorized. Yes, coming out of all the other million Tales games, that at least does not seem that complicated. But before my internet went down again and I started losing my mind, I had a thought that was kind of cool, which was... just based on what little we know about the relationship between people and spirits and mana at this point, it's almost like, we know from other games with summon spirits and mana, a big way in which people interact with them is forming pacts, like Klaus does in Tales of Fantasia, and like Mythos and Sheena do in Tales of Symphonia, and so on and so forth. And it seems like they've almost taken that structure and made it more everyday and banal in Xillia so far, where like every time someone has to cast an art or do the channeling that Jude and the professor were talking about, they kind of undergo this exchange of mana with spirits in that kind of pact-like contract or transaction, but in a less honorific maybe sense than you get in the other games. All right. I think it was all the way back here was where we started. Padre was saying if we go back to where we kicked off the game, there's a little scene or something to be done. Dr. Jude sure is diligent. He even works hard on projects that have nothing to do with his training. He's just a good guy who likes helping out. But doesn't he plan to apply for a job here? Yeah, on Professor House's recommendation. He's going to be the prof's #1 assistant. Honestly, I'm kind of jealous. I guess that's what he gets for flaunting the whole nice guy routine. That's a pretty cynical way to put it. But honestly, don't you think so too? Well, I guess at times it does kind of seem like he's just doing a nice guy act. Right? I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but sometimes it does make me wonder about his true intentions. I'm not saying it's a bad thing either, but I know exactly what you mean. Oh, man. This poor kid's reputation precedes him, and not in a great way. So I guess it remains to be seen, is he really a teacher's pet, or is he just diligent and successful and people resent him for it? Even the 4 great spirits answer to someone, a guy named Maxwell, I think? If Maxwell had a physical form, I bet he'd appear as some wrinkled old man with a long beard. That is certainly how we've seen him in the past. If you remember our adventures in Symphonia. And Fantasia before that. And Eternia, for that matter. Our world is composed of the 4 elements controlled by spirits: fire, water, wind, and earth. Back to student services lobby. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Padre. There are 4 spirits that stand above the other spirits, each representing one of the 4 elements. These are known as the 4 great spirits. Okay, got it all committed to memory and ready for the test. So the governing spirits that sit above, presumably it seems like more everyday spirits without special rank or station. Maybe in kind of a like a Shinto framework of just, there are a million spirits for every particular use and moment and culture in the world. I think I'm going to up the difficulty a bit for the next test. Put a little extra effort into the test prep if I was you. Pretty sure you're thinking of Kresnik there, buddy. Ancient history really isn't your subject, is it? And we'll see what he responded to. Say, Jude, what was the name of that ancient sage guy again? Nothing scarier than someone upping the difficulty of a test. Alright, so this is the student services lobby. Oh, okay. The man to the right of the exit. This man? Oh, with an exclamation point over his head.
What are spirits? You could say they're an invisible presence that permeates our entire world. You could say they're the font of spirit arts, feeding off the mana from human mana lobes. You could say they're the guiding hand that turns the wheel of all existence in Rise Maxia. In other words, the symbiotic relationship between human and spirit is at the core of every facet of our lives. But we don't know when this relationship began.
Ooh, I'm interested.
How did humans and spirits relate before our modern spirit art culture? What was the world like then? Ah, it's hopeless. Once again, the sun is setting without any answers in sight.
This is Fenmont? The sun never rises.
Yeah, idiot.
How'd your medical training go?
Yeah, I know this is the right time for me to finally be playing Tales of Xillia because everything I think that would have overwhelmed me back when I played it before just has me super interested. Like, that guy musing about the origins of the world and the origin of that relationship between human and spirit. And then remember, I'll go back and we can look at what this girl said because I think it was really interesting. People give mana to spirits, and the spirits use it to create the natural world in which people live, forming what we know as the cycle of life. So there's something already, to me, quite interesting and different about this world, in the sense that, if I'm reading that correctly, the entire physical world is substantiated as a result of the spirits feeding off of the mana that is offered to them by people and generated by the brains of people. So there's this kind of like metaphysically substantive idealism. If you have this idea, like idealism being the thought and philosophy that everything is just mental and kind of it's all derived from like people's perceptions of the world and there's nothing essentially like out there. But this takes that an interesting step further and says like, well, everything is sourced from the human mind, but that is what actually creates objective and tangible reality that can be independent of any one person, but still metaphysically dependent on everyone because of this relationship between people and spirits. Also, to say something quite similar to that in Tales language, it seems to be a pretty robust way of designing an entire world around the thesis that courage is the magic that turns dreams into reality. That idea, which again was echoed in the beginning narration voiceover, that people are quite literally able to manifest the world through the bonds that they forge between their minds and spirits. So a cool way of sort of creating the scientific and philosophical basis for how a world mechanically would function if it were governed purely by sort of the ideological tenets of JRPGs and kind of typical JRPG platitudes. Good question, Pottery. If that's the cycle of life, where does death come into it? You would think, if we're going off of the thematic speculation that I was playing up, if people are responsible through their bonds with spirits for bringing the world into reality, then you might think that people dying in the worlds would cause maybe even particular aspects of the world to also fade out of reality and cease to be, in a way that, again, kind of thematically makes sense, because you lose people, you lose cultures, you lose part of how you understand your place in existence. So if that ends up being part of what's actually going on in the world, where perhaps, as people die or spirits die, parts of the world are at risk of disappearing, that could be really interesting. Tulane Medical School is the only teaching hospital in Rashigal. Another point of intersection with House MD, which takes place at a teaching hospital. If my own son had shown any talent for studying or channeling spirits, I'd have loved to send him here. Oh, I'll have to look up that song you mentioned from Grand Blue also, Grail. I know you've been singing the praises of it's everything, but it's music too, and I'm a sucker for great soundtracks. If you head east from the entrance of Tulane Medical School, you'll find the Sea Haven where the ships dock. I want to go too. I want to learn to cast Spirit Hearts. Oh. Kids who don't know words. I love it. One of my favorite things about Beryl from Tales of Hearts. There was another direction that you gave me, right, Pottery? Oh, just one before the research center, which is where we're going anyway. Perfect. Northwest region, Orda Palace, and the research center is over there. Okay, cool. So dead ahead. Towards the palace, okay. The soldiers you see patrolling the city are part of the military guard. They're strict, but nowhere near as bad as the ones from Special Forces. Special Forces soldiers answer directly to the king and balk at nothing. Cold, hard bastards, the lot of them.
The falling lumen petals sure are beautiful today. I'll never forget how stunned I was when I arrived at Fenmont and saw the lumen trees for the first time.
Lumen trees, so it must be trees that generate light. Okay, so you said by the palace. I'm going in exactly the wrong way for it. Is that true, Grail? Is Beryl actually supposed to be 18? I think you're lying to me. She's totally represented as a kid. There's no way that she's 18 in the Tales of Hearts narrative. The government affairs of Rashigal have traditionally been handled by an assembly of noblemen, but King Nachtigal used his military power to put a stop to the meetings. Now he's just going to hold all the power himself? It's like we're backsliding into savagery. Well, even a stopped clock is right twice a day, right, Pottery? We're gonna get it eventually. Hey, keep your voice down. The army might hear us. It's remarkable that it's such a gamble. Maybe I'm just dumb. Oh, well, yeah, she wants you to think she's older, definitely. But that's very different than her canonically being
those
older.
lumen petals are, they sure aren't easy on the sinuses.
Oh, just when things were heating up, too. Have you no tact at all? Do you need something? I'm kind of on a date here. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you. No one gets into Orda Palace without an invitation from the king. Oh, and we know Xillia wouldn't lie to us. Oh, okay, good. I thought I had just gone right by it. Alright. That's cool, though, that it also tracks the field dialogue, because it is nice not to miss that. And it does add nice texture to wandering through places. Yeah, that's got. I've mentioned on the stream before Grail once or twice, not often, but getting as deep into the study of these games as I have, Xillia is a great resource. I do not think it is 100% accurate, so especially if you haven't played a game recently, I would take parts of it with a grain of salt, and I definitely, unless there's some radical reveal that is coming that I'm not expecting, and I don't think there is, I firmly do not believe that Beryl is 18. She's the kid character in the party. That's 1000% how she's represented. I bet the How Prize Committee is going to make their selection soon. I wonder whose research will be chosen this year.
I still can't believe Professor House won the How Prize. I need to go tell him the good news.
Lantern trees don't glow naturally, you know. We luminologists use spirit arts to attain the perfect level of luminescence. Crafting lights with the perfect balance of beauty and steadiness is a master luminologist's stock in trade.
You messed up your foothold art again? How many years have you been working this job?
I didn't mess it up. It was working fine, and then it just stopped.
Professionals don't make excuses. You young folk just can't concentrate right. Here,
Thank you.
look. First, you use your art to stabilize the wind.
It's so funny because I was like, that voice feels so familiar, like I've been listening to it for over 100 hours, but behind a different model, I just couldn't place it for the life of me. My man.
Huh?
See? Even you can't get it right now.
Just shut up and get back to work. Remember, we have to adjust all of these lights today.
I know. Sounds like a lot of work.
I'll show you. I'll carve my friends' names in all of the lumen
I
trees.
wonder why everyone's having so much trouble spirit channeling.
It is an interesting window into Jude's perspective that we get to the fact that based on how the game was introduced to us, we already know the solution to the mystery that he's trying to work out and seeing evidence for, because we saw Mila, reflecting on how the mana is out of balance and the spirits are imperiled. But of course, Jude doesn't know that. And so we're seeing him work through something that we already have a sense of based on how we entered the world. The work being done in the research district is at the very forefront of spirit art study. And not just the forefront in Rashigal, mind you, but in all of Rize Maxia. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed into the research facilities ahead.
Sorry, the lab is closed to the public at this hour.
But I'm here to pick up Professor House. He's from the Talon Medical School.
House. He already left.
Is that the sign-in sheet? Huh?
Satisfied?
Couldn't I just dart in really quick just to make sure?
Sorry. Rules are rules.
Right. Now what? No way those guys will let me in.
It's a great aesthetic, Grail. Yep, a testament to the series' ability to make a whole town feel so coherent and satisfying and lived in. So they're not going to let us in, right? Another way we must find. It would be hard to live in a place of eternal night, though. It's a nice aesthetic for a moment, but oh man, I feel like it would take a toll on you.
Something must be wrong with the spirits.
Ah, we've seen her before. Dios mío.
Hi.
Just keep quiet, and I won't need to hurt you.
Wait, why are you breaking into the lab? What are you...
That's strange. What part of keep quiet didn't you understand? So, ready to hold your tongue now?
Drowning him might be a bit of an overreaction.
So much noise. Could you try coughing quietly? What are you doing here anyway?
Can I talk? I dropped something. I was just picking it up, see? What are you up to? The guards will be here any second.
That's why I need to hurry, and you need to go home. Before they arrest you for trespassing.
I'll go this way. You go home.
Oh. Where'd she go? She must have gone ahead. There was something fishy about that sign-in sheet, too. Anyway, I need to find the professor and tell him about the award.
It's so funny to me that after all of that happening, the thing on the top of Jude's mind still is, oh man, I gotta tell the professor about this award. That's his number one priority. My man. Yeah, Grail, I was actually thinking about the nighttime thing in the opposite direction, because when I made that comment, I had in mind Alaska, because, God, they have like something like almost a month of darkness when the sun doesn't rise, or something like that, right? And no, I said what I did because I just, for the life of me, I can't imagine going up there and living in that kind of climate. I feel like it's because it's so devastating to me living in places as I have and do, where, you know, with stuff like daylight savings, the sun can set sometimes at like 4 or 4:30 in the afternoon, and that is already so bleak to me. So to think of it never rising in the first place is like, I know the people do it, but I don't know if it's for me. Or for people in general, also. Just because people do something doesn't mean they ought to, right?
Hey kid, who let you in?
I also, this might be in my head, but I was noticing with that last sequence of Jude clocking Mila and following her. So tell me if this seems right to you too, but going to this after Tales of Grace's F, just something about the nuance and subtlety with the like representation of the character models and how they can capture their motion and little gestures and expressions. Seems to be a marked improvement to me in this, you know, watching Jude and Mila's interactions versus some of the interactions we got between, say, like Asbel and Sophie or something like that. Not that I didn't love Tales of Grace's F. You all know how I feel about that, but this definitely, you can feel that it was developed a few years later.
I sort of let myself in. Sorry for the intrusion.
Fair enough, Grail, so you know it of you speak. But again, wouldn't you like to live somewhere with more sun? Or but you know, I grew up in a place that was mostly like almost always cloudy and foggy in Northern California, so I get the appeal of that too. Just, for me, there's a big difference between foggy and cloudy and just like living in night all of the time. Well, remember, because we talked about this, it seemed like Dawn of the New World was really the first one, because then it was really janky. But I don't know. I feel like I can still see a jump between Grace's and Xillia, too. Xillia, excuse me. See, I did the thing I said I was going to do. It'd be interesting to set up some of the scenes from like Dawn of the New World and Grace's and Xillia side by side to see if we could see comparative differences. I would imagine we might be able to.
Huh. I should be taking you to security, but you seem courteous enough.
You're the nicest burglar I've ever seen, and you've got moxie. I gotta give it to you.
Come on, I'll take you to the exit.